Hello, hello everyone. I'd like to start our day thanking the previous speaker, Victoria, and our second group of people that will be speaking are a dynamic group. There'll be quite a few responses for them, this larger group, but we will keep on track so we can get to the last speaker. Eileen Klima is one of the most magnificent human beings that you will ever meet. Some people, when they send a bio, you don't know what they're really like in person. She's one of these people that is quiet, humble, dynamic, and such a joiner. That is what an amazing person to have her start the Disastershock GlobalResponse Team Ambassador Group. Let me tell you a little bit about Eileen. She has worked in the school system for 25 years in Northern California. She's credentialed as a school psychologist, an MFT, and a school counselor. She's also interested in crisis management, which is showing up a lot of her expertise now in her current work. She lectures and has a focus on her goal. And her goal, which I paraphrase, is to work together and break the silos that interfere with the continuity of mental health care for students. She's really on their side, and that shows with her whole year of work with them. She's presented already with AMP this week, and you might want to see her, another dimension of her, on Monday's lecture. She has been involved only a short time, but so much work has been done. And I recall a quote from Toni Morrison, a fantastic poet, that said, "If you have some power, then your job is to empower others." That is what she did. So we're going to listen to her give a little preview. And as typical as Eileen, when I mentioned that I wanted to have more said about you, she said, "No, this is going to be the Ambassadors' Day. I want you to know that they will organize this whole concept of what they want to present." So I'm in the dark, and I think you will be, enlightened as I will be at the same time. So let me hear Eileen Klima just give a little bit of a preview of what today will look like with their presentation.
Thank you, Jackie. We're grateful to have this opportunity to present to be at the Oxford Symposium, and we're thankful to all of you for joining us. We appreciate it. And I work with an amazing group of young people that have taken this idea of working with others and are developing it. And they designed and organized this presentation. And so I'm going to turn it over to them. I'm going to turn it over to Ava.
Hello. So I'm going to be sharing my screen with our presentation. Here we go. And you can all see that? Okay, perfect. So I will be opening up with a little introduction, just explaining what we're doing. Here. Oh, no, I gotta go back. Okay. As young inspired people, the Disastershock GlobalResponse Team Ambassadors feel not only the desire, but the need to become the change we want to see in the world. The Ambassador program was designed to create a space where students could volunteer alongside the other members of Disastershock and learn how to work in a relief organization. Not only is this program an opportunity for students to have direct impacts on people struggling from disasters, but they are also given the skills and taught lessons in psychology and mental health from presentations of professionals in the field, which are many of you. What is so unique about this program is the way it connects students and professionals internationally, which is extremely important when wanting to understand what is going on in certain places around the globe and how best to help those struggling. As students, we have the most passion for school-based family counseling and how preventative steps can be taken, as well as the steps we take in our main work of mitigation. Our goal as Disastershock GlobalResponse Team Ambassadors is currently to help those in need by disseminating disaster shock materials and information to families locally and internationally, But many of us have the passion to ultimately become professionals in the field and change the way family-based counseling and mental health is dealt with in school settings. And you guys are inspiring that and making me more interested in it because, you know, I haven't been able to ever learn about this kind of stuff from anyone else. So this is a really special program. Now I will introduce Tara, which will talk about the workshops.
Hi, thank you, Ava. I'm Tara Vivrett, and I go to Ashland High School. I'm a senior in Oregon. As members of Disastershock, we've had also the opportunity to learn from some of the best mental health professionals. We engaged in presentations and workshops led by people such as Tony Nemia, the director at USF Center for Child and Family Development, who taught us more about adverse childhood experiences. Dr. Eileen Naomi Russ, who helped teach us about healing trauma, a neuroplasticity approach, as well as Marissa Soluzio, a recent NYU graduate who taught us how to set up controlled surveys and research studies. Other key presenters include Brian Gerard and Suzanne Gerardo. These opportunities helped us learn more about the field we do work in and allowed us to connect with those able to answer any questions that we may have. I will now pass it back to Ava.
So I will be talking about our general meetings. So our general meetings are a great way to organize and motivate the efforts of each individual team member. These meetings begin with each individual answering different prompts, such as what is something you're looking forward to this year. This gives us a way to connect with each other and form a supportive, interconnected team. After this, there's general announcements and updates on worldwide disasters. As a team, we discuss what may be specifically helpful to those struggling in disasters and have an idea of what kinds of materials and messages to be sending, as well as the best people to be sending them to. So, for example, in our Ukraine emails, we were sending those to both school establishments and just the general public, whoever could help us. But something specific that we needed to do was to make sure they knew that we had the Hungarian, Polish, and Ukrainian translations available for them. So that was something we needed to change about our emails. So we discussed that in the meetings. Then we discuss successes in our efforts, like responses to emails or successfully translated manuals and tip sheets. Many times there will be presentations from people and organizations who could use our help or want to educate us about current events, or they want to work together. We have also lately been able to access the Disastershock website's analytics, telling us how the website has been performing and how many people it's reaching and where in the world people are accessing that website from. So all of these aspects of the general meetings keep our efforts organized and just strategic and help recognize the good work of the team, motivating us to do more. I'll now introduce Avery, who will talk about how we send emails.
Hi, my name is Avery, and I'm going to be a senior at Arcata High School. When wanting to distribute resources, I first reach out to research the disaster at hand. Then I assess what materials would be most useful for the targeted community. I have many different templates for emails from our guidance in the Disastershock organization that help me send the most useful information and attachments for those in need. For example, in Ukraine emails, I use both the general disaster and the school targeted emails, sending corresponding ones to school administration and local support organizations. The Ukraine emails have their own templates since they describe all the different translations of the Disastershock materials available for those countries. Then I look at the right people to send the emails to and find their job descriptions and determine if they can be much help when distributing materials. If they can, then we'll send the materials. And finding current emails and job descriptions can be difficult, but knowing the requests are getting to the right people with the right resources is important. So I'll now be turning it over to Talia, who will talk about some of the connections we've made through the emails.
Hi, I'm Talia, and I'm a senior at Ashland High School. I don't usually expect a response while sending our materials out, so I'm always excited when I receive emails in return. I sent our materials to psychology professors in Hungary when the war in Ukraine began, because Hungary was welcoming a great amount of Ukrainian refugees. I went to the websites of the major universities in Hungary and found the emails for their psychology and mental health related professors. I sent them our tip sheets and received a couple responses. We could also view that people in Hungary had received our materials by looking at the website analytics and seeing that we had online traffic from multiple people located in Hungary, which was interesting to see. I'm going to pass it over to Zarielle.
Hi, I'm Zarielle, and I'm a rising sophomore at Oxford Academy in Florida. I'm so pleased to be here today, and I'm so honored to be part of the Disastershock GlobalResponse Ambassadors team. This organization has been involved in humanitarian efforts since the 1980s, and I am so excited to be a part of such a prestigious organization, especially since I joined at the start of this program as a freshman in high school. At the beginning, we all did not know what to expect or who we were going to help, but now I know that we would all say that this organization has helped us all grow in so many ways. It is much appreciated by our entire team that Dr. Brian Gerard, our founder of Disastershock GlobalResponse Team, has given the ambassadors an equal opportunity to be a part of the planning, discussions, and distribution of materials. This has given us all tremendous inspiration. My first role on the team was to help organize and disseminate the tip sheets of resources in 13 different languages to send to countries that were affected by disasters. The current crisis in Ukraine has directed the efforts to disseminate coping resources for children and families undergoing stress in Ukraine and surrounding countries who have been facing trauma. This task will continue to be one of our ongoing jobs. At one of our ambassador meetings, we decided that one of the most efficient ways to send materials and helpful resources was to distribute our roles with different countries. I took on the role of being responsible for Germany. So I took the lead in communicating and finding opportunities to spread the word of Disastershock and its resources in Germany because my father and late grandparents lived in Germany. I saw this as a gateway to connecting with organizations and media. My family's history is that my grandparents were Holocaust survivors. As an Auschwitz survivor, my grandmother later in life became involved in an organization called Vivrett to help others who may be facing hardships. I reached out to many organizations, but my first response was a positive one from Vivrett. They mentioned how they would love to include Disastershock in one of their magazines. So from there, I sent them more in-depth information about Disastershock and what we plan to do to help Ukraine and other countries as well. Around 1 month later, the article was published highlighting the Disastershock GlobalResponse Team. In the article, it mentioned ways our team has been involved with Ukraine and possible ways people can have free access to help when responding to trauma. The tip sheet was also printed in this article. This newsletter gave Disastershock important recognition as it deserves, and it sent many people throughout Germany information on how they can help people in Ukraine and family members that they think might be going through trauma, or also themselves and their children. Thank you so much for letting me share my story with you today. I love hearing you all speak about such important topics for our world.
Hi, my name is Harmony Tryon, and I just graduated from Arcata High School. I will now be a freshman at Cal Poly Humboldt. I'm just going to start by sharing a little of my experience as an ambassador. As someone who did not have the easiest childhood, but was able to overcome my struggles, I came to Ms. Klima asking how I could help others who were struggling. She shared how other students had been asking the same thing and told me to come in and would meet all together. That's kind of how this group started in the first place. We soon after reached out to Dr. Gerard about joining Disastershock. That moment started a really beautiful experience for us. We were suddenly able to put our drive into action and feel like we were really helping people all over the world. I was able to speak firsthand with people facing disasters in far-off countries and learn from professionals in the field. This was like one of the really important things to me because my family, a lot of them didn't really go to college, and I don't have access to like learning from people in the field. So being able to like talk to people firsthand instead of it being this far-off thing that you think of these people as like, I don't know, celebrities. I got to actually like meet these people and learn from them, which was something I'm very grateful for. And this experience definitely strengthened my motivation to pursue a career in psychology and my need to help others. That leads me to our ending topic. As ambassadors, we all enjoy and appreciate the opportunity to help in these immediate disasters and plan on continuing to. Furthermore, in the future, we see this programming encompassing a different aspect of disaster. Long-term disasters such as the decline in teen mental health, the rise in youth suicide rates, and surge of school shootings. We see these things as disasters too and want to allocate our resources to make a difference in this area as well. We believe in a preventative approach, possibly starting with the implementation of school-based family counseling. Our hope is that by providing young people with social and emotional skills, support, and resources, they will have the tools to be successful in overcoming challenges when faced with a disaster. And we've kind of started this at our school, Arcata High School, which just a few of us go to. And we're trying to kind of create a peer counseling group there. But we want to see like more programs like that created. So like looking at disasters in a preventative way, not just after they happen, but we want to do both. So we would like to thank Oxford Symposium for inviting us to participate in this worldwide conference and hope to make the world a better place. We're looking forward to answering any questions that you may have. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you so much. The team is amazing. Much, much appreciated. Eileen, there were some other ambassadors that weren't able to attend. I know that Molouwa from Nigeria may not be able to attend, but was there anyone else that you had on our list that was not able to be there today that could get some recognition from you?
Yes, there are. There's, let me go through the list. I don't have it with me, but I've got it memorized. Samantha Gaiera, who just graduated from Arcata High in California, participated, and she couldn't get Wi-Fi connection, so she was not able to present. We have all of a sudden I can't think of her name.
Julia.
Yeah, Julia. You probably have the list of the names. Do you want to read the list?
Yes. Linden, Koshland.
Mm-hmm.
Julia. I think that's it. I think everybody.
Simone also. Simone Starbird.
Okay.
Yeah, Simone Starbird and
Yes.
Julia Markov. Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And we had the twins. Okay. Well, as we go, but Eileen, make a few comments about how proud you must be of your team, that you created the model of having the ambassador team under your leadership. What was it like for you?
It's been an incredible year. We started talking about it in November and kind of officially started just in January. And we're still developing. The kids have been proactive in taking on roles and responsibilities that are very adult-like, which is just inspirational for the future. And I think that there can be more opportunities for them to be involved in and be able to make incredible contributions to the world. It shows that you really need a passion to want to help and make change in the world. Seems to be one of the criteria, I think, to be involved in this group. And so we're kind of learning who is really wanting to be, who's just interested, and who's maybe just thinking about it. So everyone is welcome. Anyone that wants to join us can. We would love to have you. And we would like to develop more throughout the world, actually.
And I think this is an opportunity for an audience that we have today, Eileen, to look at who is ever here. They must have ambassador type students available in their communities and countries that they would just get in touch with you and promote a program within that school setting. Again, it's a very contagious thing. The people that are in different places, East Coast, West Coast, there was someone that was from Israel, there was someone from the Czech Republic. It was a very, very unique experience. Unfortunately, some of the language, we have to have more of a locale where they could have their own group with a language established for the ambassador group to thrive. And we're going to work on that this year, of having satellites in every part of the world. And that'll give you more work to do, Eileen, I know that.
And one of the issues was the ambassadors were concerned about their level or ability for English. And we want to really express that, don't worry about your level of English. It's okay. Everybody is needed and wanted, basically.
No hands will lift undone. Why don't we open it up for a Q&A, and that we can have some responses to this amazing opportunity.
Okay, can I speak, Jackie? I want to thank Eileen and each one of the ambassadors for their very well thought of and planned presentation. I think this is a very important thing to spread around the world, whether it is for a disaster or just as a means of creating what Victoria spoke about, that connected caregiving. Because it is, in the end, peers that are providing support for peers and teaching people that we don't need the adults, the old people, to tell us what to do. We can do it ourselves. So I would really like to know more about how you plan to expand these into other shells around the world, so that there can be, so there's basically a connection that comes from you, Eileen, to the other other school counselors, school psychologists, school mental health workers, and then between the ambassadors and the peers, so that it can create further networks of ambassadors. So have you got a plan for connecting with other school counselors to create more cells of these kind of ambassadors, whatever the kind of disaster is, but so that they can do this caregiving for one another?
Yeah, the plan is to develop it more throughout this next year, especially I think with schools. Each of the ambassadors that are involved with their school, that we can hopefully develop it more in their school, would be kind of the plan. And then we can kind of form a network around the world, and that we can get, we're taking ideas because it's evolving. We don't have it like, oh, this is exactly what we're going to do. We're evolving, and it's really important to get the feedback from the ambassadors themselves, because this is really their program and their future, if they choose it to be their future.
Yeah. No, I was previously also more involved with school psychology, international school psychology, and a lot of this is something that could be publicized. So I hope that you can, as a school counselor, also move to other, with this program, move to other sites to become more visible, because it's not only at the grassroots level, because we need to get the people in other parts of the world to realize how this model of creating a grassroots level support system. I know, currently I'm living in South Africa, and I know that there are lots of problems in the schools, and they don't have the counselors in the schools like people have in other countries, but they need that kind of, but I like that word that she created, connected caregiving, so that we can move forward with that into other parts of the world, because this is extremely important.
I think another thing that's going to help us with that is as the ambassadors are getting out of their high schools, we're moving all to different parts of the world and our countries into different colleges. So I'm hoping to go to UC Santa Barbara, and that being there, studying psychology as my major, I'll be able to have more support and be able to get stronger in my ability to reach out to other countries. So as we all spread around, I think that, and still stay together this way, I think we'll be able to create more connections.
Thank you, Ava. You know, as part of the work that we do, it's a very good model to look at putting leaders with big hearts, great minds to work early on, not waiting until the college level. And so I think this is what the program has been inspiring young people, thinking they can't start this kind of work until later on. And the energy that they have, I just want to let you have a clue into their energy. Every Saturday, they had to have the opportunity to be end of school, stop Friday, but on Saturday, they came to lectures and presentations to learn all about the human needs that we gave them that information, how to handle it. So they devoted so much extracurricular time for this project. And I'm just applauding their energy level. I just want to
one thing on that, on what she was saying. I just wanted to share that, like, the same thing as Ava was saying, that we, as going to college, we hope that that will help us like make more connections and have a little bit more like powerful connections to reach out to more people. But I also just wanted to share, I feel like this, we might already know this, but this was kind of brushed over, was that if you guys have ideas on how we can reach out to other, like make this a bigger thing, we need help from you guys, because a lot of you have the these type of, I guess, insight and powerful connections. So like, let us know, because we want help from you as well. So I just wanted to add that, because I know, yeah, you guys, we like look up to all of you, and we want your guys' help as well. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Kathy, I think you have a question. Thank you so much, Harmony. You're a good marketer.
Yeah. Well, like dear Eileen, Eileen and I have worked together for several years in this family therapy in schools group. And one of the most exciting opportunities I see systemically is, pardon me, in the United States for our 6 licensed mental health groups to shift from our Eurocentric history of not collaborating with each other to advocating, particularly around these various disasters that are challenging our whole world. And my big hope for you young colleagues is that you will take this need to connect, this compassionate collaboration to your colleges as you do training, so that we can talk across disciplines. Eileen is a psychologist and a family therapist and a counselor, and I'm also a psychologist and a family therapist. So we need to do more collaboration. I think we'll have more professional clout if we do that. So I just wanted to put 2 cents in for our 6 licensed mental health groups, that now that we're getting more voice in the United States, given the conditions that have happened in the world the last couple of years, that this is really a time to unite and collaborate together.
Thank you, Kathy.
Thank you.
Little hands being raised, and I want to attend to the other Q&A. Steve Pomerantz, Dr. Steve Pomerantz.
Thank you. I have a comment and a question. Several weeks ago, the shooting at Uvalde, Texas, resulted in the mayor being interviewed, and he made the comment that all the mayors receive information about how to deal with disasters. So I immediately thought of your group and wondered if you've been sending material to the mayors of all the cities.
Right. That's a very good point, Steve. And I will direct it over to Brian Gerard, who has, since the 80s, been very directing this immediate response to have our materials go. We've sent it to not only environmental crises, but also the shootings that had been, experiencing trauma in the families. But Brian, do you want to add anything to Steve's request? Although we have sent materials out to those kinds of disasters and crises as well.
Yes, we did send our materials to Uvalde, to the principal of that school, and to the school superintendent. And we haven't followed up to see if it's our materials that they're using, but we do respond to situations like that. And one of the first disasters we responded to, and I think it was one of our ambassadors here, was the tornadoes in Kentucky, if I'm correct. Which of the ambassadors responded to that?
I did a lot of work with Kentucky, and Avery helped a lot too. She did a lot of that.
And if you look at our Disastershock homepage, we have a disaster watch page there, where we keep track of different disasters around the world, and there are so many disasters that are ongoing. It's just a Herculean task, and the ambassadors have played just an incredible role in helping us to reach out to these communities worldwide.
Brian, while you're on, we also would like to promote the idea that all the materials are free, and everyone that's here today would just go on disastershock.com, and you can download books that are written by the members and translations in 23 languages, tip sheets in 13. All those resources are downloadable and free. So even if you printed them out and brought them to your place of work or your university setting, it's so valuable. You won't believe, since the 1980s, we have been gathering this information, and the people that have managed to devote their time and energy to translating into these 23 languages books for this project. The ambassadors are just an amazing group. Brian, I'm sorry.
Let's see if the group has some more questions for the ambassadors.
Helen has a question, and so does Peter. And I don't see any other hands raised, but let me know. Helen, do you want to start?
Yeah, I have a comment, and just really inspired by young people being involved. And I did not have any expectations of but now today I am seeing how things are unfolding, and it's reaching out to people. And it's very inspiring to see young people being involved and being the change that they want to see the world to be. I really like that phrase, because you're involved and you want to see the world change. And the comment that I wanted to make was that, disasters are everywhere. My parents grew up in a generation where there was a Korean War, there was colonization, and I have seen firsthand the generational impact of that. And nothing like disaster shock was available at that time. And people just kind of lived through it, and they just have to survive through it. And we see the emotional impact, generational trauma. And, when the young people is going out there and is being an ambassador and is trying to work with the people going through the disaster, you are preventing a lot of the generational trauma that could happen. So you're doing great work. And I kind of see it, the networking and, the whole vision growing. And so I'm so impressed and so inspired. Thank you for your hard work.
Thank you, Helen.
Yeah,
Peter.
thank you.
Peter Geiger.
Thank you, Jackie. I have one comment and one specific question for Ava and her colleagues. And the comment is that I love what I'm hearing in terms of the way each of you is observing what is there to be observed in the world around you. And I can't remember which one of you it was who talked about the epidemic of teen mental health, but it's that comment that has prompted mine, and I hope you all continue to do more intelligent observation like this. And Eva, I think it was you who talked about how at the beginning of your meetings you kind of discuss new news items about disasters. And I just wondered where you get the input from, because it strikes me as terribly important.
Right. Well, at those meetings, it's usually Dr. Brian Gerard, who brings up those disasters. And as he said, there is a disaster watch, a section on the website. So that's where that came from, comment. Yeah.
Thank you.
I don't see any other hands raised. So, oh, there we go. Christine.
Thank you. First of all, I just want to compliment all of you on your energy and your enthusiasm and your commitment. And then I want to ask, who is going to UCSB? Just raise your hand.
Well, this fall I'm going to be attending SBCC, and then I'm majoring in psychology and doing the TAG program to go to UCSB.
Okay, this is the only reason I ask you, because somebody was asking for help from us. So when you get to UCSB, I went there, and this is how you get help. You go to a psychology class, and then if you like the professor, you approach that person in their office and you say, how can I get help from somebody who cares about things like disaster shock and doing research in that? And they will refer you to their colleague because they know them. And then you approach that person and you say, I was referred by that person. And that person will help you with operationalizing the identifiers. And then they will become part of your team and you'll go from there. I'm not kidding. I went there and that's how I got the stuff that I needed for the rest of my stay there. So there you go.
Thank you. And that's why I'm so excited to go to college, is I have this program and I'm going to continue to go through with this program, but I'm also going to be able to meet people in person who can really help me do what I'm passionate about.
See, already we're making connections. This is fantastic. This is what it takes. Sheena, were you clapping or raising your hand? Okay. We don't have any hands raised, but if there's no other Q&A from the audience, a very specific person is definitely going to make some remarks about today's speaking engagement, mostly because she is one of the originators of disaster shock. She is Dr. Sue Schaefer, and she, along with Brian Gerard and Suzanne Gerardo, have made the commitment to stick with this since the 1980s earthquake, where the material started to flow at that point. Sue, I'm going to let you have the floor and give your impressions and comments about something that you pioneered for in the 1980s for that earthquake crisis that we started this whole program with.
Thank you, Jackie. I wasn't planning necessarily to speak, but I just have to, I would like actually to repeat again the amazing work of this group of young people, and not only those that are here today, but the others on the team that have contributed. It's really remarkable to see the steps that are still coming out of, you know, 1980, this small book was written, and then Brian has carried it over all of these years into so many new places. And to see an extension of it like this with young people with this kind of passion and caring and all the very same characteristics. I was so impressed with the earlier presenter, and can see these young people stepping up. I think her name was Victoria. Do I have that right? Earlier today, was she Victoria?
The first presenter?
Yes. A remarkable young woman in the work she's doing, but I can see these young people doing exactly the same. And then again, we have to just, you know, continue to look forward and see what other ways that we can reach out to make this information and connectedness continue. So that's what I'd like to say. Thank you to all of you. Mhm.
Well, thank you. So you've been such a pioneer yourself, and it might be because you're in California that's why I named you as a pioneer of the field. But in a sense, you created unbelievable connections, and it was all under your roof that you've done this. All over the international world, you collected people that were like-minded in humanitarian efforts. We had 26 languages translated in a book, and they all volunteered. Not one penny was spent.
Mhm.
It's enough, but you know, again, you're very humble for your the life of this organization. Thank you so much for your efforts.
You're welcome. And I just want to say I do about 1/100th of what Dr. Brian Gerard does. He's amazing in what he's done. And finding Eileen Klima to head this particular part of the group has also been a gift to everyone. So thank you. And you too, Jackie. You never stop working. So we're lucky to have such a group.